I guard Yellowstone's forbidden zone. The old rangers warned us not to count the lights. The job listing called it a thermal anomaly monitor position. Seasonal. Federal contractor, remote posting. The pay was $42 an hour with a hazard differential that kicked in after 10 consecutive nights. I was a former emergency medical technician with a suspended license and a court order keeping me out of 3 counties in Montana. Yellowstone is in Wyoming. I took the application and mailed it the same afternoon. The orientation packet arrived 2 weeks later. Inside was a laminated badge with my photo already on it, a set of handwritten directions to a place called Outpost 7, and a single index card. The card had 6 words printed on it. Do not count the lights. That was all. No context, no signature, no explanation of what the lights were. I drove in on a Sunday in early October. The roads inside the park were mostly empty by that point in the season. I followed the handwritten directions off the main road onto a fire access path. Unpaved, barely wide enough for my truck. The path wound south for about 4 miles through Lodgepole Pine. My odometer read exactly 4.2 miles when I saw the outpost. It was smaller than I expected. A prefabricated metal building about the size of a 2-car garage, painted a dark green that had faded to nearly gray. A tall antenna rose from the roof. A pair of satellite dishes was bolted to the south wall. A propane tank sat on a concrete pad, 10 feet from the northeast corner. The building had 4 small windows, each one covered from the inside with black fabric. A man was waiting outside the door. He was older, maybe 65, with white hair cut short and sunburned skin that looked like it had been through decades of field work. He wore a gray thermal under a tan Park Service jacket. No visible rank insignia. He introduced himself as Garrett. He did not offer a last name. He shook my hand once, firmly, and did not smile. "Your name is Marsh," he said. "Yes, sir." "You read the index card?" "I did." "Good. Come inside. I will show you the rules. Everything else can wait." The interior of Outpost 7 was a single room divided by a metal shelf unit. On one side was a work area with 2 monitors, a shortwave radio, a battered desk, and a wooden chair. On the other side was a folding cot, a propane heater, and a storage cabinet bolted to the wall. The floor was bare concrete. The ceiling was low enough that I had to duck slightly near the antenna mount in the northeast corner. The only light came from a battery-powered lantern on the desk. The fluorescent fixture overhead was disconnected, its wires capped and taped with electrical tape. Garrett placed a laminated sheet on the desk. It was thicker than a normal page. The plastic was industrial grade. "Read it all the way through before you ask anything," he said. The title at the top read, "Outpost 7 Overnight Protocols. Restricted Zone Thermal Sector South." I read it. Rule 1. Your shift runs from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. You are not to leave the building during this period except for the designated perimeter checks. If you are outside the building when your radio alarm sounds and you are more than 50 yards from the door, do not attempt to return. Proceed to the orange marker stake on the eastern ridge and remain there until you can see the sun above the tree line. Rule 2. Perimeter checks occur at 8 p.m., 11 p.m., 2 a.m., and 5 a.m. Each check follows the gravel path around the building. The path is marked with reflective stakes at 4-foot intervals. Do not step off the gravel. Do not look away from the line of stakes ahead of you. Each check must take between 9 and 13 minutes. If you complete it in under 9 minutes, stand at the northern stake and wait until 9 minutes have elapsed from the moment you stepped outside before re-entering. Rule 3. You will see lights in the basin to the south. They appear most nights between 10:30 p.m. and 3 a.m. They vary in number. They vary in color. The original rangers who staffed this outpost documented colors including white, amber, pale green, and one notation of a red that appeared only once in 11 years of logs. Do not count them. If you begin to count them, stop immediately. Step away from the window. Write the word "stop" in the red logbook and record the time you began counting. Do not write down the number you reached. Rule 4. The radio check schedule is as follows: 8:30 p.m., 11:30 p.m., 2:30 a.m., 5:30 a.m. Your call sign is Zone 7, actual. State your call sign, the current time, and the phrase "all quiet south." If dispatch does not respond within 90 seconds, switch to the backup frequency listed on the orange card inside the desk drawer. If there is still no response on the backup, walk to the antenna junction box inside the roof access hatch and cycle the power switch. Do not go onto the roof itself. Rule 5. There is a logbook for normal observations and a logbook for anomalous observations. The normal log is green. The anomalous log is red. Entries in the red log must include time, duration, and a physical description of what you observed. Do not use the words creature, being, entity, or person in the red log. Use the word presence if you are describing something that moved. Use the word feature if you are describing something stationary. Rule 6. Between midnight and 4 a.m., if you hear sounds that resemble footsteps on the gravel path outside the building, do not conduct a perimeter check early. Check the time. If it is not a scheduled check time, write the time in the red log and wait. If the footsteps stop and restart within the same 60-second window, check that the door is locked. It should be. Write the word "locked" in the log. Do not open the door regardless of what the sounds do after that. Rule 7. The basin temperature readings are monitored on screen 2. The normal range for this sector is between 160 and 210 degrees Fahrenheit. If a reading drops below 140 for more than 6 consecutive minutes, log it in the red book. If a reading goes to 0, do not assume the sensor has failed. Log it. State your call sign on Channel 1 and say the phrase Zone 7, requesting thermal confirmation. Wait for verbal confirmation from dispatch before taking any other action. Rule 8. There is a set of older rules in the filing cabinet under the desk. They are printed on yellow paper and held together with a metal binder clip. They are from the original occupants of this outpost. You may read them. You may not follow them. Several have been superseded by the protocols on this laminated sheet. If you find yourself reading a rule on the yellow paper that seems relevant to something currently happening, set the yellow paper down. Use only the laminated sheet. Rule 9. Do not use your personal phone between midnight and 5 a.m. If it activates on its own during this period, remove the battery if possible. If you cannot remove the battery, place it inside the lead line pouch in the supply cabinet and do not retrieve it until after 7 a.m. Rule 10. If something knocks on the door between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and identifies itself as another park employee, ask for the verification phrase. The phrase for each night is given during the radio check at 8:30 p.m. If the person outside cannot give you the phrase, do not open the door. If they give you the phrase but their voice sounds different from the beginning of the sentence to the end of it, do not open the door. Radio dispatch and use the words Zone 7, reporting voice discrepancy. Rule 11. Do not count the lights. Garrett was leaning against the far wall with his arms folded when I finished reading. His expression had not changed. "You wrote Rule 11 twice," I said. "No, I did not," he said. "The original writers wrote it twice. I left it the way they wrote it." I looked at the laminated sheet again. Rule 3 covered the lights. Rule 11 just said those 4 words, nothing else. "Why?" I said. He was quiet for a moment. The only ranger who documented counting them was a man named Elwood Ferris. 14 years ago, he counted 9. He wrote the number in the red log. He was here for 6 more nights after that. His logs for those 6 nights are in the yellow paper file. I will tell you now so you do not have to find it on your own. The entries get shorter each night. The last one is 2 words. What are the 2 words? I said. Still 9, he said. He showed me the inventory, walked me through the radio system, and left at 6:48 p.m. I watched his truck disappear down the fire road, and I was alone. I did the 8 p.m. check. The gravel path was exactly as described. Reflective stakes at 4-foot intervals, 86 of them total. I counted them because I had nothing else to do and because they were not the lights. The path took 11 minutes and 20 seconds. I stood at the northern stake for the remaining time and looked at the sky. It was clear. The stars over the basin were dense and very low. I went back inside and did my radio check at 8:30. Zone 7. Actual 8:30 p.m. All quiet south. Dispatch responded in 12 seconds. Copy Zone 7. Quiet noted. At 10:15, I looked out the south window. The basin below was dark except for the steam drifting up from the vents. The steam caught the faint starlight and moved like something breathing. I stood at the window for about 4 minutes before I saw the first light. It was white, low to the ground, maybe half a mile south, near the edge of the main vent field. It did not flicker. It did not move. Then there was another one, slightly to the left. Same white, same height off the ground. I stepped back from the window. I had not started counting. I was aware of that. I had seen 2 and I had not counted them because I had not thought of them as countable until the second one appeared. That was the moment I caught myself. I stepped away and wrote in the red log. 10:17 p.m. Lights visible in basin south. Discontinued observation per protocol. I did not write how many. The 11 p.m. perimeter check was uneventful. The gravel crunched under my boots the way gravel always does. The air was below freezing, and my breath came out in short bursts. I kept my eyes on the reflective stakes and not on the basin. I finished in 12 minutes and 4 seconds. I went back inside and locked the door. At 11:30, I did my radio check. Zone 7. Actual 11:30 p.m. All quiet south. Copy Zone 7. At 12:42 a.m., I heard footsteps on the gravel. I noted the time. It was not a check time. I sat at the desk and listened. The sound was slow and deliberate, like someone trying to walk quietly on a surface that does not allow for quiet walking. It went around the north side and then stopped. I wrote 12:42 a.m. Footsteps on gravel path, north side. Duration approximately 40 seconds, then stopped. I waited. At 12:43 they started again. Same pace, same location. I wrote, locked. I tested the door without opening it. All 3 latches were engaged. The footsteps stopped at 12:44 and didn't return. The 2 a.m. check was the one I had been dreading. I put on my jacket and unlocked the door and stepped onto the gravel. I kept my flashlight on the path in front of me and moved at a steady pace. The basin was to my left as I came around the south side, and I did not look at it. I kept my eyes on the stakes. I was at the southeast corner when I stopped. I do not know why I stopped. My body stopped. My foot just did not go forward, and I stood there with the flashlight on the path. And for 3 seconds I did not move. Then I moved again. I finished the check in 11 minutes and 51 seconds. I went back inside and did not write anything about stopping, because I did not know what category it fit into. I was not describing a presence. I was not describing a feature. I was describing my own body refusing to take a step, and there was no line in the red log for that. At 2:30, I did my radio check. Zone 7. Actual, 2:30 a.m., all quiet south. Copy Zone 7. Quiet noted. At 3:12 a.m., the temperature on screen 2 dropped. Vent 3 went from 174 degrees to 119 degrees in less than 2 minutes. I watched it fall. 112. 106. 98. I logged it. 3:12 a.m. Vent 3. Rapid decline below threshold. Currently reading 91 degrees. Then Vent 5 dropped. 161 to 88 in about 90 seconds. I picked up the radio. Zone 7 requesting thermal confirmation. 2 vents below threshold. Vents 3 and 5. Dispatch came back in 40 seconds. Zone 7 confirmed. Note the time and vent numbers. Do not initiate any additional protocol yet. Continue monitoring. I noted the time and vent numbers. I watched the screen. Vent 3 stabilized at 86 degrees. Vent 5 kept falling. At 3:22, Vent 5 reads 0. I sat with that for a moment. The screen was not blank. It was active. The sensor was functioning. The reading was 0. Zone 7 requesting thermal confirmation. Vent 5 reading 0. Dispatch did not respond for 4 minutes. When they came back, the voice was the same voice as before, but something in the pace of it had changed. Zone 7, we see it. Stay inside. Do not conduct the 5 a.m. perimeter check. Wait for daylight. I stayed inside. The 5 a.m. check did not happen. I sat at the desk and watched the monitors. Vent 5 stayed at 0 until 6:11 a.m. Then it jumped back to 192 degrees in less than 30 seconds. I wrote it in the red log. At 6:48 a.m. I heard 4 knocks on the door. Too quick. Pause. Too slow. I verified the rhythm and opened the door. The day ranger was a woman named Carla, about 40. Red hair pulled back, mud on her boots. She looked at me the way Garrett had the night before. "Any counts?" she said. I said no. She nodded and stepped inside to check the logs. I drove out at 7:15. The fire road looked different in daylight. Narrower. The trees closer. I could not tell if they had been that close the night before. 3 miles out, I pulled over and sat for a while. I had not counted the lights. I was certain of that. I had seen 2 and stopped. 2 was not a count. 2 was observation. 2 was stepping away from the window and writing stop in the log. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes before I started the truck again. But here is the thing. Here's the thing I did not write in any log. When I stopped on the south path at 2 a.m., between the southeast corner stake and the next one in the line, in that 3-second pause where my body refused to move forward, I had looked up. Not at the basin, not toward the lights, down the path ahead of me, where the reflective stakes continued in a straight line toward the southwest corner, and I had counted them, automatically, the way you count things when your brain is moving faster than your rules. 7 stakes ahead, then 6. Then I caught myself at 5. I did not write any of this in the log, because the rule says do not count the lights, and what I counted were stakes. But the stakes were between me and the basin, and the stakes were reflecting something. And I had not been looking at the basin, but the basin had been there, and there had been things in it that were white and low to the ground and not flickering. And I do not know if what the stakes were reflecting was starlight. I go back tomorrow night. Garrett called at noon to confirm my second shift. His voice was normal. He asked if I had any questions. I said no. I said all quiet south. He was quiet for a moment, and then he said good. That was all. He hung up. I have been sitting here since then trying to remember exactly how many stakes I counted before I stopped. I know I said 5. But I want to be sure. I keep wanting to be sure. And that is the part that concerns me more than anything else that happened last night. Not the footsteps, not the temperature readings, not the two lights I saw at 10:17 and stepped away from. It is that I keep wanting to finish the count. And I do not know if that is me, or if that is something the lights do.